Welcome to reality. You're now on the Code of Mind channel. Today, according to official data, there are more than 8,300,000,000 of us on the planet. We have been conditioned to believe that every person we encounter in the subway, in the office, or in our news feeds possesses the same depth of feeling, the same spark, and the same soul that we do. We look into the eyes of strangers and automatically project onto them our own capacity to love, to empathize, and to suffer from a guilty conscience. But let's take off the rose-colored glasses for a moment and look at the cold figures. According to official statistics and the results of recent large-scale studies on the dark triad, approximately 1 in 8 people on Earth exhibits traits of psychopathy or pronounced narcissism. That is an entire billion people who, at a fundamental biological level, lack empathy. If the soul is not just a beautiful word from books, but specifically the ability to feel another's pain as your own, then a terrifying question arises. Are those we call humans actually such in reality? Perhaps we are making a global mistake by equating the number of biological bodies with the number of living souls. We are used to thinking that humanity is a monolithic mass of beings with the same basic settings. But the world is overpopulated with empty shells. This is not an insult. It is a statement of fact. A billion beings around you are physically incapable of understanding what you feel. Their mirror neurons are not developed in the zones responsible for compassion. For them, your tear is just a salty liquid, not a signal of pain. We try to understand everyone, to put ourselves in their shoes, to warm them with love. But can you warm someone who doesn't have an internal thermometer? You try to knock on a heart, but you hit a flawlessly functioning processor. Recognizing that a being without an internal self might be standing next to you means destroying your comfort zone. But this very recognition is the first step toward your safety. Think about it. A billion people. That's every 8th person. This means that while you walk down a busy street, you pass dozens of people whose inner world is limited only by their own want and must. They have no sense of guilt, no remorse, and none of that light that mystics speak of. There is only a cold will to survive and dominate. If we stop assuming that every body has a soul by default, the world becomes much clearer. Disappointment vanishes, and the eternal question, how could he do that, disappears. He could because there is nothing inside him to stop him. There is no judge, no observer, and no love. There is only emptiness dressed in a very convincing human suit. The predator's evolutionary advantage. A psychopath is not necessarily a thriller movie maniac hiding in the shadows. It could be a very successful, frighteningly charming and influential person in an expensive suit. Research, including the works of Kevin Dutton and Paul Babiak, shows a shocking pattern. In the seats of top managers, politicians, and high-ranking officials, the number of people with psychopathic traits is many times higher than the average among ordinary professions. Why does the system push them to the top like a cork? Because they completely lack internal brakes. While you suffer from pangs of conscience, lose sleep over difficult choices, or fear hurting someone's feelings, they simply take a step. For them, people are not personalities, but tools. For them, the world is not a home, but a platform for the realization of total control. They lack the internal player that asks questions about morality. There is only cold intelligence and naked calculation. They are effective precisely because they are devoid of what we call humanity. In our social architecture, kindness and empathy are often perceived as weaknesses. A psychopath, however, possesses a superpower. He does not feel fear or social pressure. Where an ordinary person freezes from stress or responsibility, a psychopath feels excitement. This allows them to sail through crises, betray partners, and make cruel decisions with icy calm. They are sharks in an ocean that we are used to considering a shared swimming pool. Imagine that the voice of conscience, doubt, and empathy was removed from your head. Your productivity would increase tenfold. A psychopath does not waste energy on reflection. His brain works like an optimized algorithm, the shortest path to the goal, regardless of collateral damage. For him, sabotaging a colleague or destroying someone's life is just a rearrangement of numbers in an Excel spreadsheet. We often confuse psychopathy with charisma and decisiveness, We choose them as our leaders because we seek strength, but it is a trap. Their confidence is actually an absence of fear regarding consequences. Their charm is a carefully calibrated acting performance designed to make you open the doors to your resources. Looking deeper, such people are the perfect functions for maintaining rigid hierarchies. They don't feel pain for the people. They feel no shame before history. They are not bad in the conventional sense. They are simply devoid of the software module called soul that makes us feel connected to one another. They are biological machines building a world in their own image, cold, efficient, and soulless. The genius of mimicry. How do you recognize someone inside whom absolute silence reigns? A psychopath is a genius of mimicry. He doesn't just try to make you like him. He literally becomes your reflection. This is the first phase of his inevitable script, which psychologists call love bombing. Since such a person has no true, living internal self, he possesses a unique ability. He masterfully scans your dreams, your traumas, and your innermost desires. In a matter of days, he turns into your soulmate. But be careful, you are not falling in love with him, but with the flawless image he constructed specifically for you. At this stage, you open the door of your life to someone who does not know how to value human warmth, but only knows how to use it as a resource. A psychopath has no feelings, but he has colossal powers of observation. While you share your secrets, he is taking measurements. If you lacked support, he will become the most understanding person. If you needed a strong mentor, he will wear the mask of confidence. He fills every crack in your soul so that you feel, this is the person I've been waiting for my whole life. You are amazed at how much you have in common. The same taste in music, the same views on the future, the same childhood traumas. But this is not mysticism or fate. It is professional imitation. A psychopath works like a mirror. He simply returns your own light parts to you, pretending to be their owner. Inside him is emptiness, but outside, he shines with your own reflected light. Love bombing is a powerful drug. You are showered with attention, compliments, and promises 24 hours a day. Your hormonal system is overloaded with dopamine and oxytocin. This is done intentionally to disable your critical filters. You become addicted to this perfect being, and at that exact moment, your vigilance falls asleep. By opening the door to such a person, you're letting a virus into your home, not a guest. He didn't come to give. He came to inventory your resources, your money, your connections, your energy, and most importantly, your time. He feels no gratitude for your warmth. For him, it is just fuel necessary to maintain his mask and the operation of his script. Remember, if someone seems too perfect, as if they stepped off the pages of your diary, you are likely not imagining things. Standing before you is a professional actor who has already begun his play. And the first act of this play is always the sweetest, so that you don't notice the trap closing behind you. As soon as you are on the hook and your attachment becomes undeniable, the perfect mask begins to crack. The psychopath moves to the second act. He launches the perpetual motion machine of manipulation known as the Karpman drama triangle. He masterfully draws you into a psychological game where roles change at his click, forcing your psyche to work until it reaches the point of exhaustion. One moment he is your only savior, without whom your world would crumble. The next, he suddenly transforms into a miserable victim of circumstances or your coldness. And a moment later, into an icy tyrant punishing you with silence. He forces you to give up every ounce of your emotion, leading you to total mental exhaustion. He doesn't need your love. He needs your energy. Your pain, your justifications, and your tears are not grounds for sympathy for him. They are merely confirmation that he still holds the remote control to your life. A psychopath cannot generate his own feelings. His internal reactor is empty. The only way for him to taste life is to trigger a powerful surge of emotion in you. For him, there is no difference between your joy and your suffering. It is all just high-octane fuel. The more you engage, the more you try to save him or explain yourself, the more his emptiness is fed. Why does he constantly change roles? So that you never feel safe. When he is the savior, you relax. When he abruptly turns into the aggressor, you go into shock. This emotional seesaw creates a biochemical addiction. You begin to live in perpetual anticipation of that rare minute when he will once again become that sweet person from the first phase. The psychopath's most dangerous role is the victim. He will make you feel guilty for his own mistakes. He will look at you with the eyes of a beaten dog, and you, as a person with a soul, will rush to comfort him, giving your last. In that moment, he triumphs. He has forced you to serve his interests using your own kindness as a lockpick. For a person with empathy, a loved one's tears are a signal to stop. For a psychopath, your tears are a signal of victory. If he has managed to drive you to hysteria or despair, it means his power is absolute. This gives him a surrogate sense of superiority. I am so great that I can destroy another person's world with a single word. You become a battery for him. And while you are running between attempts to understand, forgive, or save him, you fail to notice the most important thing. The triangle is a closed figure. You cannot exit it by winning according to the player's rules. In this game, there is no finale where you finally live happily ever after. There is only the phase of total depletion, where you will be discarded so they can go find a new power source. Gaslighting, hacking the OS. The second phase is the subtle, systematic destruction of your perception. In psychology, this is called gaslighting, but in reality, it is a literal hack of your operating system. You imagined it. I never said that. You're always exaggerating everything. You're too sensitive. This is not just a lie. A lie is when a fact is hidden. Gaslighting is an attempt to rewrite your memory and force you to renounce your own reality. The psychopath's goal is simple: to make you doubt your own sanity. When you stop trusting your eyes, your ears, and your feelings, you become absolutely controllable. The psychopath doesn't need your understanding. He needs total, absolute control over your consciousness. Our self is built on trust in our own experience. When someone you have trusted methodically tells you that your experience doesn't exist, your psyche begins to crack at the seams. You start asking him what actually happened. At that moment, you voluntarily hand him the keys to your head. Now, he decides what is truth and what is a hallucination for you. Gaslighting works like an invisible cage. The psychopath may suggest that your friends or relatives also notice something is wrong with you. He isolates you not physically, but mentally. You become afraid to seek help because you believe you are losing your mind, and no one will believe you. The most despicable part of this manipulation is that he uses your best qualities against you. If you are a kind and analytical person, you will begin to look for the cause of conflicts within yourself. Maybe I really am overreacting. For the psychopath, your reflections are just an open port through which he uploads the virus of guilt. The dead gaze. Behind the mask. The most terrifying, soul-chilling moment comes when you, driven to the limit, try to appeal to this person's conscience. You cry, you scream in helplessness, you explain in painstaking detail how much you are hurting and what exactly is breaking your heart. You wait for even a shadow of understanding, and suddenly you freeze because you see his eyes. In them, there is not a drop of sympathy. There is an absolute dead void. In that moment, the frightening truth hits you. This is not a lost soul that can be warmed by your love. This being simply lacks the biological organ that senses human warmth. Trying to evoke compassion in a psychopath is like trying to light a campfire in a total vacuum. You will simply waste all your internal light, trying to illuminate a black hole that is physically incapable of giving anything back. We believe in the power of love because we have mirror neurons. We are programmed to resonate with another's pain. But in a psychopath, this area of the brain is dark. When you cry in front of him, he isn't angry, and he doesn't hate you in the human sense. He is studying you. He looks at your tears like a lab assistant looking at a chemical reaction. For him, your despair is simply data confirming that his chosen method of influence is working. The biggest mistake is thinking, he is so cold because he wasn't loved enough as a child. I will fix this. This is the ultimate trap for people with big souls. You start pouring your tenderness, time, and resources into him, hoping to see a spark of life. But an iceberg does not melt just because you look at it with love. You only drain your own batteries until you turn into the same kind of empty shell. In your moments of maximum vulnerability, the psychopath often doesn't even bother to mimic emotion anymore. He might look bored, check his phone, or watch you with cold curiosity. This is the moment the mask is removed. In that silence, you realize, behind the beautiful words, there was never anyone there. It's not a difficult personality. It is a functional absence of the human. Your light is your life. Giving it to someone who cannot reflect it is a slow suicide. A black hole will not become a sun, no matter how many stars it consumes. It will only become larger and heavier. Understand this. His emptiness is not your fault and not your responsibility. It is his nature. When you finally see that no one is home, an acute pain sets in. But that very pain is the beginning of your recovery. You stop looking for water in a dry well. You realize that the one who needs saving here is not him, but what is still left of yourself. It is time to take your light back from this abyss. If there is an entire billion people living among us who are biologically devoid of empathy, our main task is to learn to see them, not by the beautiful words they shower you with at the beginning, but by their cold deeds and the eternal cycle of your internal depletion when you are near them. A real human begins where there is a capacity to feel another. Look at your circle right now. Who is next to you? A living, pulsing soul, or someone who simply wears a human face flawlessly? It is time to stop giving your life to those who can never appreciate it. The primary detector of a psychopath is not his behavior, but how you feel. If after interacting with a person you feel like a squeezed lemon, if your self-confidence is melting away, and life turns into an endless session of psychoanalysis, that is a signal. Your soul feels the predator long before your mind finds a logical excuse. Trust your exhaustion. It never lies. As soon as you stop feeding them with your emotions, their power over you vanishes. True awakening is the ability to say no to soulless scripts. You are not obligated to be a battery for those who do not know how to love. Your life is a most precious gift, and it deserves to be shared with those capable of resonance. Leave the empty shells to their cold world. Thank you for being with me on this channel. I wish you the best possible branch of reality. Subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video. Take care.